every business has to arrive at a customized solution as to how to make those improvements. It has to be done in the context of your business, the context of the equipment, the facility that you have. And so that's been actually a piece of our the R&D tax credits we've received, not the large piece, but it comes to a significant figure as well. So.
Great. Does anybody have any questions directly for Brian? Okay. Well,
how many project roll-ups do you think are each year? Are we at 3 or 4 or 5?
At least 6.
So they average maybe 15, 20,000 piece or something like that?
At least, yeah.
Okay.
And we had one project that we actually scrapped or put on the shelf, and we invested probably 1.3 million in it for nothing.
Which you obviously would have preferred to have not done that, but at least you know you had some financial benefit that came back to you.
That it wouldn't go, but it didn't. It's the nature of being innovative. If you're not willing to fail at a few things, you'll just never.
Brian, how long ago did you get involved in the process with Blackline Group?
Well, I'm not sure. I know I know for sure we've gotten credits in 07, 08, and 09.
Did you go back and
retroactively bring credits back? I
Credits
believe we did for something like 2 to 3 years.
Do you have any insights on that process
of going back?
I would assume you document your R&D now differently than you did.
Yeah, and it's the documentation it's fairly easy to demonstrate based on just what we're selling at this period versus what we were selling the previous years, and how we got there, and the people on payroll, we have I approve every invoice in our company, so we've got records, down to the detail of anything that we've ever spent money on. And so those are the levels of details we went through to bring up.
I would suspect you keep track of you allocate your records allocate people's time differently now than it did in the past.
Yeah, like I mentioned, especially on the engineering side, we are allocating on a project by project base, and those things that are pure research are separated out from just product maintenance and the like. I know we all cringe a little bit internally when we know the auditor is coming in, because we have to account for the time and all the things that each one of us have done. And in my own case, I know that if I ever were audited, I could demonstrate probably double the amount of time that I actually recorded. So I just, with my nature, I just would be cautious on saying, reporting what I actually did on
I think a major point that you made before when we were talking is that, at the front end, there may be some time associated with, setting up your processes to the point where you want them to be. But once they're set up, it's turnkey,
yeah.
right? I mean, on an ongoing basis, it's pretty easy once you have those in place.
Yeah, and in some ways, to have an outside influence makes it easier to develop an internal process. If we have to satisfy this for this need, psychologically, I think it's easier to just get it done and make it happen. You have this taskmaster that's somehow outside the walls, and rather than just for Colin next door or someone, it's too easy to blow that off. But I think by knowing there's real benefits to doing this, the voucher of time, especially in the engineering part, it's a lot easier to accomplish.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Brian. Okay, let's keep moving on. So this is a good tie-in then to the case studies. What we're not going to do in the interest of time is I'm not running you through each of these. I just want you to understand what's on the slide. Everybody has a copy of the handout. You can read these on your own. What I want you to really get out of these, though, is you can see obviously what type of company took advantage of the credit. You can see what the dollar benefit to the company was. In some of the instances, they're going to be multi-year projects where they took advantage of the credit currently or timely, but also went back to prior years. And then we gave you one example of R&D that was going on in the business. This isn't what you see up here is not the only thing that generated this dollar amount. It's just one example of one of the goals they had, what the obstacles they ran up against were, and what steps they took to resolve that uncertainty. So again, I'm going to just buzz through these. You can read these on your own, but you can see obviously very pertinent in this state, farming equipment. First couple are both farming equipment companies. These were multi-year projects. They went back to prior years. A company that manufactures animal supplements. Again, agricultural related, more equipment. Anything, and this is a software company. Any type of software company is pretty much all R&D. And as a rule of thumb, you tend to see more R&D in software companies because everything you do is R&D, and at a wage level, developers tend to make more than a typical, like a tool maker in a manufacturing environment. So very good opportunities in software. Again, here's a company that does basically metal fabricating and machining. Plastic injection molding, as I said before, in this job shop environment, a lot of R&D. Again, more mold building. Company that's making films for the green environment. That's a big term these days. A lot of people are doing stuff green. There's a lot of R&D there. So again, I'm not going to take our time. You all have those handouts. Read those on your own. And if you have questions, obviously you can get back to me. So if you can answer yes to any of these questions about your company or other companies you know of, then there's probably R&D. If they do have those formal departments called your R&D department, design department, there's probably R&D going on. If you either contract with design or engineering services or provide those to other companies, there's R&D going on. Again, software development, as I just talked about, or manufacturing, it's all R&D, or a lot of R&D. And if a company has applied for and received patents, you don't have to have received a patent in order for it to qualify, for you to qualify for the credit, but it's good support that there's R&D going on. Here's a long laundry list of potential qualifying activities. If you see anything on here that looks pertinent to your company, again, I'm not going to read each of these bullets, but if anything looks familiar to you here, you should be looking at the R&D tax credit. I will point out a couple things: adding new equipment and improving developing or improving manufacturing facilities. As we talked about before, purchasing equipment in itself is not a qualified cost, but that implies a process improvement. So you probably have R&D. Same thing with a building. The actual cost of building the building is not qualified cost, but that probably implies and that you're implementing processes and systems that would qualify for the R&D tax credit. So who has the ability to maximize the credit? I mean, when you, again, the key with the R&D tax credit is to the effective use of the credit is to make sure you understand all the costs and what types of activities qualify, and being very comfortable in claiming certain things because it is a gray and subjective area of the tax code. So there's a couple approaches you can take. One is what we just call the calculation approach, and that's where you just really take a high level. You say, here's our org chart. We have 4 engineers. They spend 25% of their time, and you spend a few minutes and you quickly throw some numbers down on a piece of paper, and you give that to your CPA, and your CPA crunches the number for you. Or you can take what we call the study approach, whereas you really dig deep into the company, you analyze everybody touching the process, really find out on an individual by individual basis how much time they're spending, and then you put together a lot of documentation and support for those claims, and then you put in place those processes or that methodology so that on a go-forward basis it's turnkey.